Welcome to Artexpo. I'm going to start, and those of you in line, if you can keep it down a little bit and get your coffee and fruit and muffins and then have a seat, that would be great. So again, welcome to Artexpo 2016. I think I'm going to start with an applaud for our operations team, Jeff and Mita, which I'm sure many of you know, did a great job on move-in. I just met one of our longtime exhibitors, and he pulled me aside and he said, "It was really quiet yesterday. There was no screaming. There was no upset people without lights." And I said, yeah, they really did a great job this year. And our decorating team did a good job, port parties, and we really appreciate that. The show looks really good. So I'm going to introduce now Rick Barnett, which many of you know. He's our Managing Director of Business Development, and Linda Mariano is our Marketing Director. And we do this welcome talk every year. It seems to be good for everybody. We get a lot of people coming up afterwards and saying, "Can you do that again next year?" So we continue to do it. And this is really an open forum. It's about you. It's about your experience that you're going to have here. It's about you asking questions. So we encourage that as we go along here, and you'll get the hang of it in a minute when I start talking. And we're going to start with pricing your work, which many of you have questions about, and then really kind of hanging. And I'm going to start with hanging your work. We've been making a big push on educating, especially our newer exhibitors, about hanging their work and letting them know that less is more. Who knows who said that? Andy Warhol. Less is more. I walked around this morning, and there's 6 booths. There's a lot of good-looking booths. A lot of good-looking booths in Solo. There were 6 of them that kind of stood out. S601, Malcolm Smith, looks outstanding. S609, 512, Roby. I think that's how they pronounce it. 405, Julia Carter. I think I saw Julia here. Is she here? She was. There she is, right there. Julia's got a big piece in the middle of her booth, which makes a great statement, and then some smaller pieces around it. Rajvi, which is in S404, and D211, Michael Ezra, in the photo solo section. Now, with that being said, there are a lot of outstanding booths. But there's a few that if anybody needs a little bit of education that you can go see with those numbers. And then when we're done, if you wanted me to show you those, we can do that. I'm sure many of you have been to galleries in Chelsea or Soho or Chicago, LA. You know, we own a number of shows in Miami, San Diego, Santa Fe, and we try to encourage less is more. I used to run Art Miami, and there's strict hanging guidelines for that show. We're a little less strict here because many of the exhibitors are new. They don't take artists, they're all galleries. But if you go into galleries here and there and you've attended Art Miami or Art Basel, you'll notice that there's not a lot of art on the walls. In fact, they let the art speak for itself, and they give it a lot of room to breathe, you know, which is a lot more white space. So piling the art up in your booth is less advantageous than separating it, storing a few pieces, and making a statement. And that's enough on that subject. So, how many of you are a first-time exhibitor? A lot of you. How many of you have questions on pricing your work? Okay, so let me just tell you, who you're going to see here. You're going to see over the next 4 days gallery owners, there's trade buyer, and there's the consumer, the collector. Today is trade only. Our traffic today will be good, but it won't be like it'll be on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday when we let the collectors in and the consumers. Today, your job is to broaden your distribution. It's to meet a decorator, a designer, a gallery owner, an architect, introduce them to your work, and broaden your distribution, which means that gallery owners, if you can establish a relationship with a gallery owner, you're going to establish a relationship with somebody who can sell multiple pieces for you throughout the year. Unlike a collector, which usually buys 1 or 2 pieces, and you might sell them another piece down the road. But a gallery owner or a designer can really broaden your distribution and make you successful for a whole year. We have people that come here, this is their only show, and they do enough business to sustain themselves for a full year. That's what you want to be. That's where you want to be. And that's what you want to do. So the gallery people and the trade people that come in today, you want to be on your toes, and you want to know how to talk to them. And they're all going to want a discount, aren't they? They're all going to want a deal because they need to resell your work. So let's go over the pricing. Anybody familiar with 50-10 means? Raise your hand. Nobody. So, you are. Eric is. So what that means is if you have a piece of work, and let's just use easy numbers, $1,000, 50-10 is 50 off, 500, 10 off that, 460. That's what a dealer would pay. A dealer might say to you, I want to pay 50-20. 50 off 500, 20 off that, 400. Get it? So that's the way galleries work. Designers usually look for a 25 to 30% discount. So if you got a $1,000 piece, a designer's going to want to pay about $700. You need to be aware of that because that's how you grow your business. Let's do some simple math. How many people here sell their work over $20,000? Good. How many people sell it around $10,000? Okay. How many paintings can you do a year? 10? Yeah, okay. So if you can do 10 paintings a year, you're going to need to either do prints in multiples or sell your work for a lot of money, because galleries are not going to be interested in that. And they're not going to be interested because if you price your work at 10 grand and you can only do 10 paintings a year and they're paying $4,000 for it, there's just not a lot of money in it for a gallery. They want people who can paint fast, on demand, and quickly. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't make a living. You can. You just need to do either, digital prints or find other ways to use your work, licensing, other things like that. Rick and Linda can help you with that. How many people can paint 100 paintings a year? Okay, they're going to love you. So let's talk about that for a minute. Let's say you're painting 100 paintings a year and you're charging $5,000 and you're not selling to galleries. And you're selling 15 paintings a year. You're doing 65 grand a year. But if you can do 100 paintings a year and you can sell them to a gallery for $1,500, you're making $150,000 a year. That's the way you got to start thinking now before these dealers and the wholesale buyers walk in. We have a big exhibitor here that we do a lot of business with. And she's done a wonderful job building her company from, Rick, 10 by 10? She started with a 10 by 10 space, and she now has, 14 booths or some enormous space on the show. And a couple years ago, I walked by and she had tables in front of her booth, and she had already sold like 28 paintings, and I said, if you move these tables out of the way, more people are going to walk. And she's like, I never thought of that. And she has a beautiful gallery in Cincinnati. And she moved them out of the way, and I came back by, and there were like 14 people in her booth. She's like, you know. So clear the table out of the way, stand up, smile, everybody. Shake their hand, welcome them. I'm happy to answer any questions for you. Do you like that piece? Open a conversation, and don't be shy. People want to hear, especially you artists, they want to hear what you're all about. I am not an artist. I cannot paint. I can draw a dog stick figure. And everybody always asks me, are you a painter? No, I'm not. But, I ran 20 art galleries. I had 105 people working for me. And all I did was look for good people to put in my gallery and train salespeople. That's what we did. And we did $48 million a year in business. And it was a good company before I came into the trade show business. But stand up, smile, and when you get tired, or you need to go to the restroom, or you need a glass of water, you talk to your neighbor, you get to know them, you have them watch your booth, you watch another neighbor's booth, you help each other out, right? Let's talk about galleries for a minute. I own a gallery. I'm spending $8,000 a month in rent. I got 2 other people. I don't really. I'm making this up, you guys. So don't come up after, do you want to buy my work? I got me, and I got 2 other people I'm employing, because I'm open 10 hours a day, right? And I got my $8,000 in rent, and I've got water and utilities and wine to buy during openings, and your work is $5,000, and I'm paying $2,000 for it. And I've got to sell 20, 30 pieces a month, right, to make any money. I got to pay my employees, I got to make a little money. So you've got to think about your partner, whether they're a designer, an architect, a gallery owner, or a publisher. You got to think about them too. And you want to make them your partner. And you want to ask them, how can you help me evolve in my career? I want to make it as an artist. I want to see myself 2, 3 years from now, not working, but painting every day. In order to do that, I need you to sell my work. So what's it going to take? Well, let's start your work at $1,500, and we'll work it up to $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 as things go on. And that's the way you do it. It's supply and demand. If you can paint 40 paintings a year and you can get $4,000 for each painting, $160,000, and the gallery's taking $100,000, you're still making $60,000. And I would rather do that than sell 3 a year to my neighbors, right? And that's what you're here for. She has a question.
I know this is difficult to answer because it's all individual, but what is sort of the going rate right now for images on paper, say limited editions, say the scale is 18 by 24? What's sort of the market rate? I know it's hard.
What's the market for limited editions?
Yeah, images on paper, say your edition is 50 up, whatever. And I'm talking retail. Like, is 150 way too low? Is 250 normal?
It really depends on the work. It depends on how much experience you have, how prolific you are, how well you're known, all of that type of thing. Now, if you can do a digital print for $30 or $40 and you frame it, I mean, you have to build value in that. If somebody buys artwork, if your price is $1,000, you have to create $1,000 worth of value during your conversation with them before the light goes off and they want it. They might love the image, and that's $800. The framing's $100, and then they like you. Everybody wants an experience. Create the experience. It's the experience you're getting right now when you're going to listen to Rick and Linda, coming to the show, hanging your work, meeting your fellow artists, right? Some of you are not going to sell a thing. Trust me, you're not. Some of you are going to do great. And that's the way it is at all art shows. Whether you're at Art Basel in Switzerland or Art Miami, which I used to run, or any of our shows, if half the exhibitors sell work, it's a very successful show. Your job here is to meet people. The show doesn't end on Sunday. The show ends 6 months from now, or even a year from now. We have 2 big shows in Miami, and they're as crowded as Artexpo is, but they're smaller, they're even more congested. And we had a guy show up. Yeah, he sold one? Yeah, one piece. He sold paid $15,000 for his booth and sold $1,000 worth of work. And he works with Linda, and he said, I'm going to make this work for me. He followed up on all of his leads. How many pieces do you think he sold? 27. Oh, I'm sorry. And took 3 commissions. 30. So he made it a very successful show for himself. If you think people are going to walk by your booth and point at something and take it, you're wrong. I trained people in galleries to engage people, to make relationships, to, go to their house for dinner, to take work to their house, that's what it's all about. It's all about relationships with your collectors and your gallery owners. Next question.
First of all, thank you very much for doing this. It makes you feel really welcome, and you're doing a great job at doing that. Thank you. Question for those of us who are not from the USA. We're from Canada, other countries. How do we facilitate getting the work to those galleries interested in the work so that, because it's all about quantity when they want it, about making it easily accessible. So from a custom perspective, I'd be interested to hear.
Well, if once you create a relationship with a gallery, you're going to get to the point where you can roll your canvas, put it in a tube, ship it, much easier to do, right? That'll all come naturally. You don't have to have all the answers today. You'll be able to work that out. You're here to make those relationships. That stuff, you can call Rick and Linda, a week from now, 2 days. You could grab them during the show and ask those type of questions. But really what you want to do is engage people, make connections, capture their information, and follow up. That's what you want to do the next 4 days.
Are we going to be asked to make exclusive relations with galleries?
I don't know.
Is that a possibility?
It could be in areas, but if somebody comes in and says, I want to represent you all over the United States and be your only agent, you're going to have to think about that. And by the way, if that happens, God bless you, right? Everybody else would like the same thing. But then you got to ask the guy or the woman, what are you going to do for me? What does that mean, right? Does that mean you're going to be on the road hustling for me? Does that mean you're going to take ads on Art in America? Does that mean you're going to do all of our shows? If they say that, then say yes, you can do that, okay? Any more questions? Okay, so my portion of the program is over. And again, welcome to Art Expo, and hopefully you'll get to meet most of our staff. There's Rita from Israel. Raise your hand, Rita. Who else is here on our staff? Raise your hand. Kelly, Anna, Rob over here is our IT director. And we're all there for your help, so, pull us aside if you need us. And Jody over here is from Santa Fe. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Rick and Linda. Thank you very much.